Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the observation deck window of the research vessel Kepler's Dream. The ancient ruins below stretched across the planet's surface like a massive spider web made of black metal. After 3 months of searching, they had finally found something incredible. "The structures are at least 50,000 years old," said Dr. Kim, her xenoarchaeology partner. He was scanning the readings on his tablet with excited eyes. "This could change everything we know about this sector." Elena nodded but kept watching the planet. Something felt wrong. The planet was tidally locked, with one side always facing its star. The ruins sat right on the border between the burning day side and the frozen night side. It was the perfect place for an ancient civilization to build their cities. "Captain Morrison, how long until we can send down the landing teams?" Elena called to the bridge through her communicator. 2 hours, Doc. We're still running full scans to make sure it's safe down there," came the reply from Captain Morrison. He was a good man who cared about his crew's safety. The Kepler's Dream was not a warship. It was a peaceful research vessel with 12 scientists and 8 crew members. Their weapons consisted of mining tools and emergency flares. They were explorers, not fighters. Elena walked back to the main lab where her team was preparing equipment for the surface mission. Everyone was excited. This was the kind of discovery that scientists dreamed about their whole lives. "Dr. Vasquez, you need to see this," called out Communications Officer Sarah Chen. She was the youngest member of the crew, barely 25 years old. Her voice sounded worried. "What is it, Sarah?" "I'm picking up some strange readings on the long-range sensors. They look like ship signatures, but they're huge, much bigger than anything in our databases." Elena felt her stomach drop. "How many ships?" "I count at least 50 contacts. Maybe more. They're coming out of quantum fold space right now." The lights on the ship suddenly flickered. Then the emergency alarm started blaring. Captain Morrison's voice came over the intercom, but it was not calm like usual. It was filled with fear. "All hands to emergency stations. We have unknown ships approaching." "This is not a drill." Elena ran to the bridge with Sarah right behind her. When they got there, everyone was staring at the main screen in horror. Massive alien ships were appearing all around them, like monsters coming out of the darkness. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen before. They looked like they were made of living crystal and metal. Each ship was at least 5 times bigger than the Kepler's Dream. Strange lights pulsed along their surfaces like heartbeats. There were not 50 ships as Sarah had first counted. There were over 200. "Captain, they're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Martinez from the sensor station. His hands were shaking as he worked his controls. "Any response to our hails?" Captain Morrison asked. "Nothing on standard frequencies. Wait, I'm getting something now." A new voice filled the bridge. It sounded like breaking glass mixed with the hum of electrical wires. When it spoke, the universal translator struggled to make sense of the alien words. "Inferior species. You will prepare for harvest. Resistance will result in immediate processing." Captain Morrison stepped forward. "This is Captain Morrison of the human research vessel Kepler's Dream. We are peaceful explorers." "We mean no harm," the alien voice laughed. It was a terrible sound that made everyone on the bridge shiver. "Deathworlders, your species file indicates low technological development. You are suitable for biological processing. Prepare to be boarded." "Deathworlders?" whispered Dr. Kim. "What do they mean by that?" Elena knew what it meant. Earth was considered a death world by many alien species because of its dangerous environment. Most aliens came from gentle worlds with stable climates. Earth had earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, and 1,000 other ways to kill you. It made humans tough, but other species saw them as primitive. The ship shook violently as something hit their hull. Sparks flew from control panels as the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. "They've disabled our engines," reported Martinez. "Whatever they hit us with, it fried our quantum drive completely." "What about weapons?" Captain Morrison asked. "We don't have any real weapons, sir. Just mining lasers and emergency flares." The ship shook again as the aliens attached something to their hull. Elena could hear the sound of cutting tools working through the metal. They were coming aboard. "Sarah, can you get a message out?" Elena grabbed the young communications officer by the shoulders. "Send a distress call on all frequencies. The aliens are jamming most of our communications. I might be able to get something out on the old military emergency band, but it would take time to break through their interference." "Do it. Send our location and situation. Use encryption protocol 77 Alpha." Sarah's fingers flew over her console as alien cutting sounds got louder. Elena looked around the bridge at her friends and colleagues. These were good people, scientists and explorers who just wanted to learn about the universe. They did not deserve what was about to happen to them. The cutting sound stopped. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors outside the bridge. The aliens were inside their ship. Got it, Sarah whispered. Message is away on the military band, heavily encrypted and hidden in background static, but I don't know if anyone will pick it up out here. The bridge doors exploded inward. 3 alien creatures entered, and Elena got her first close look at their captors. They stood 8 feet tall on 6 legs like giant spiders. Their bodies were covered in what looked like living crystal armor. Their faces had multiple eyes that glowed with cold blue light. One of the aliens pointed a weapon at Captain Morrison. The weapon made a humming sound and the captain collapsed to the floor. He was not dead, but he was not moving either. This one appears to be the pack leader, the alien said in its glass-breaking voice. It will be processed first for information extraction. 2 more aliens dragged Captain Morrison away. The lead alien turned its multiple eyes toward Elena and the rest of the bridge crew. The others will be prepared for biological harvest. Deathworlder genetic material has some value in our markets. Elena felt sick. These aliens saw humans as nothing more than animals to be butchered and sold. She watched helplessly as her friends were stunned one by one and dragged away. Sarah Chen was the last one standing besides Elena. The young woman was still at her communications console, desperately trying to boost the signal on their distress call. It is useless, Deathworlder, the lead alien told Sarah. Your primitive technology cannot penetrate our jamming for more than a few seconds. Even if your message reaches someone, no one will come. Your species lacks the capability to threaten us. Sarah looked up at the alien with defiant eyes. You don't know humans very well. The alien's weapon hummed and Sarah collapsed. As the creatures dragged her away, Elena heard her whisper something that made Elena's heart race with hope. Message confirmed sent. Encryption 77 Alpha. Someone will hear us. Then Elena was alone with the lead alien. It studied her with its cold blue eyes like she was a specimen in a laboratory. You will be processed last, scientist. Your brain patterns indicate advanced learning. The information extraction will take longer. As the alien's weapon hummed and darkness closed in around her, Elena's last thought was about the message Sarah had sent. It was flying through space right now, carrying their cry for help into the vast darkness between the stars. The alien fleet settled into orbit around the planet, confident in their superiority. They had dealt with dozens of species before. Deathworlders were always the same, primitive, weak, and easy to harvest. They had no idea what was coming for them. Admiral Marcus Chen was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency klaxon started screaming through the corridors of Thermopylae Station. He set down his cup and moved quickly to the command center. After 30 years in the human colonial navy, he knew the difference between a drill and a real emergency. Report, he barked as he entered the bustling command center. Sir, we just intercepted a distress signal on the old military emergency band, said Commander Rodriguez, his second in command. It's heavily encrypted with 77 Alpha protocol. Admiral Chen felt his blood turn cold. 77 Alpha was reserved for the worst possible situations, genocide-level threats, the kind of encryption you only used when facing complete extinction. Who sent it? The research vessel Kepler's Dream, sir. Dr. Elena Vasquez commanding the science team. The Admiral's hands clenched into fists. Elena was his daughter. She had chosen science over military service, much to his disappointment at the time. Now he would give anything to have her safely behind the walls of a military base instead of out there in the unknown. What's their situation? Commander Rodriguez pulled up the decoded message on the main screen. As the Admiral read it, his face grew darker with each line. 200 alien vessels. Hostile intent. Crew captured for biological processing. They're calling us Deathworlders and treating us like animals for slaughter. Sir, there's more, interrupted Lieutenant Walsh from the communications station. We're receiving similar distress calls from other sectors. The same alien fleet seems to be hitting multiple human settlements. Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. Red dots marked the locations of the attacks. The aliens were not just going after one ship. They were conducting a coordinated assault on human space. How long since the last transmission from Kepler's Dream? 16 hours, sir. Long-range scans show alien ships still in orbit around the target planet. 16 hours. Elena and her team had been in alien hands for 16 hours. The Admiral tried not to think about what that meant. Instead, he focused on what he could control. Rodriguez, Send word to all fleet commanders in this sector. Emergency mobilization order Alpha 1. Every ship that can fight is to rendezvous at coordinates. He paused to calculate the best jump point. Here, grid 779er. Sir, that's going to strip our defenses pretty thin, I don't care. Those aliens made a mistake when they took my daughter. Now they're going to learn why we're called Deathworlders. The next 3 hours were controlled chaos as Thermopylae Station prepared for war. Ships that had been undergoing maintenance were rushed back into service. Supply ships worked around the clock to load weapons and supplies. Crews were pulled from leave and civilian assignments. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the dreadnought Indomitable. She was an older ship, built during the colony wars 20 years ago. Her armor was scarred from a dozen battles, but her weapons were still the most powerful in the fleet. Fleet status report, he ordered. 57 ships ready for jump, sir, reported Commander Rodriguez. 2 dreadnoughts, 8 heavy cruisers, 22 destroyers, and 25 frigates. The experimental stealth ship Ghost of Terra is also requesting permission to join the operation. Granted. What about the other sectors? Admiral Kim's 5th Fleet is en route from the Centauri region. 18 ships. Admiral O'Brien's 3rd Fleet is coming from the Tau Ceti colonies with 31 ships. Admiral Petrov's 8th Fleet is mobilizing from the Outer Rim with 42 ships. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Nearly 150 human warships converging on a single target. It was the largest fleet operation in human history. Any word from the aliens? No direct communication, sir. But our long-range sensors are picking up interesting data. The alien fleet appears to be celebrating. Celebrating? Yes, sir. Increased energy signatures consistent with some kind of festival or ceremony. Intelligence thinks they might be processing their captives. The Admiral's jaw tightened. He turned to the fleet communications officer. Send a message to all ships. We jump in 30 minutes. Rules of engagement are weapons free. Any alien vessel that does not immediately surrender is to be considered hostile. Sir, that's pretty aggressive for a first contact situation. Admiral Chen looked at his second-in-command with cold eyes. Commander, they kidnapped my daughter and are planning to butcher her like an animal. This stopped being a diplomatic situation 16 hours ago. As the fleet prepared to jump, similar scenes were playing out across human space. The distress call from the Kepler's Dream had reached every military installation within 100 light years. Captains canceled shore leave. Engineers worked through the night to get damaged ships back into fighting condition. Weapons officers loaded every torpedo and charged every energy bank. On the bridge of the heavy cruiser Retribution, Captain Sarah Kim read the tactical brief with growing anger. She had served with Elena Vasquez during their academy days. Elena had been the smartest person in their class, always helping others with their studies. The idea of her being tortured by alien monsters made Sarah's blood boil. Captain, we're receiving updates from other fleets, reported her tactical officer. It looks like this alien force has been doing this for a while. Intelligence has found records of 17 other species that just disappeared in this region over the last 50 years. They're planet killers, Captain Kim said quietly. Species hunters. They find civilizations and harvest them. On the destroyer New Tokyo, Commander Park reviewed the enemy fleet composition. 200 ships was a lot, but the aliens seemed to rely on overwhelming numbers rather than advanced tactics. Their formations were rigid and predictable, very different from human military doctrine, which emphasized flexibility and adaptation. Sir, incoming priority message from Admiral Chen, reported the communications officer. Commander Park read the message and smiled grimly. It was short and to the point, exactly what he expected from the old warhorse. All units, we are going to hit them fast and hard. They think we're primitive Deathworlders who don't know how to fight. Let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our family. The experimental stealth frigate Ghost of Terra was already moving ahead of the main fleet. Her captain, Commander Lisa Torres, had volunteered for the most dangerous mission. While the main fleet engaged the aliens directly, the Ghost would infiltrate their formation and attempt to locate the human prisoners. Stealth systems at maximum, reported her sensor officer. We should be invisible to their scans. Good, remember, our primary mission is to find survivors from the Kepler's Dream. The Admiral's daughter and her team are counting on us. As the human fleets jumped toward their destination, none of them knew exactly what they would find. The aliens had superior numbers and unknown technology, but they had made one critical mistake. They had attacked humans. Earth was indeed a death world. It had produced hurricanes, earthquakes, ice ages, and mass extinctions. The humans who survived all of that had learned to be tough, adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when protecting their own. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to discover they had cornered a pack of wolves. Admiral Chen stood on his bridge as the jump countdown reached 0. Around him, his officers worked with calm efficiency. These were veterans of the colony wars, hardened by years of fighting pirates and separatists in the Outer Rim. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute. Space folded around the human fleet as they disappeared into quantum fold space. Behind them, more fleets were preparing to jump. By the time the sun set on Thermopylae Station, there would be no human warships left in the sector. They were all heading for the same destination. All heading to show the aliens what happened when you made enemies of Deathworlders. In the depths of quantum space, Admiral Chen stared at the swirling colors outside his window and thought about his daughter. Elena had always been too brave for her own good. Even as a child, she would stand up to bullies twice her size. "Hold on, sweetheart," he whispered to the stars. "Daddy's coming." The Archon Prime stood in the command chamber of the great harvester ship, Crystal Dominion. Through the transparent walls, it could see the primitive Deathworlder vessel, floating helplessly in space. The harvest had been proceeding smoothly for the past 16 hours. "Status report on the specimens," the Archon Prime commanded. 12 Deathworlders successfully captured. Initial biological scans show they are suitable for processing. Their genetic material contains interesting adaptations to high gravity and hostile environments, reported the science cast leader. "Excellent. How long until we complete extraction procedures?" "Another 10 units, Archon Prime. The Deathworlder neural patterns are surprisingly complex. We are extracting considerable data about their species and technology levels." The Archon Prime was pleased. The Hegemony Collective had been harvesting lesser species for over 3,000 years. Deathworlders were always the most valuable, because their harsh home environments made them physically robust. Their organs brought high prices in the biological markets. "Archon Prime," called out the SensorCast leader. "I am detecting quantum fold signatures approaching our position." "How many ships?" "Initial reading shows." "This cannot be correct. I am reading 57 vessels emerging from quantum space." The Archon Prime felt a flicker of confusion. 57 ships was a significant fleet, but the Deathworlder technology files indicated they possessed only primitive space travel capabilities. Visual display. The main viewing screen showed empty space for a moment. Then, like ghosts materializing from the void, the human fleet appeared. Ship after ship dropped out of quantum fold space in perfect formation. They moved with military precision that the Archon Prime had not expected from a primitive species. "Interesting," the Archon Prime mused. "It appears this Deathworlder species has more advanced capabilities than our files indicated. No matter. Signal the fleet to assume defensive positions." The 200 ships of the Hegemony Collective began moving into their standard formation. It was a formation that had never failed against any species they had encountered. Overlapping energy shields and concentrated firepower made it nearly impregnable. "Archon Prime, we are receiving a transmission from the Deathworlder fleet. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was hard and cold. It carried the kind of authority that the Archon Prime recognized from veteran military leaders. "This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the Human Colonial Navy. You are holding human citizens prisoner. Release them immediately and withdraw from this system." The Archon Prime laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a windstorm. "Deathworlder, you are outgunned and outmatched. We have 200 vessels to your 57. Surrender now and we will process your crews efficiently." "Negative. You have 60 seconds to release our people and leave this system." "Or what, primitive? Your species file indicates minimal military capability. You cannot threaten the might of the Hegemony Collective." There was a pause before the human admiral responded. When he spoke again, his voice was deadly quiet. "You took my daughter. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was thinking we wouldn't come for her." The communication cut off. The Archon Prime turned to its tactical commander. "These Deathworlders are more aggressive than expected. Prepare to demonstrate our superiority. Target their largest vessels and fire at will." The crystal ships of the Hegemony Collective opened fire first. Brilliant beams of energy lanced through space toward the human fleet. The aliens expected to see the primitive ships explode or surrender immediately. Instead, The human ships scattered like a swarm of angry insects. "What are they doing?" demanded the Archon Prime. "This formation makes no tactical sense." The human ships were not following any recognizable battle formation. Instead of staying together in a defensive group, they spread out across 3 dimensions. Some ships dove below the plane of battle while others climbed above it. A few ships accelerated directly toward the alien formation at speeds that should have crushed their crews. Archon Prime, they are not fighting like any species in our databases. Their movements appear random and chaotic. The chaos was not random at all. Admiral Chen had studied every available record of alien ship movements. The Hegemony Collective fought like most advanced species, with rigid formations and predictable tactics designed to maximize firepower while minimizing risk. Humans fought differently. Earth's violent history had taught them that the side willing to take the greatest risks often won. While the aliens maneuvered carefully to avoid damage, the human ships threw themselves into the battle with reckless courage. The destroyer New Tokyo twisted through a barrage of energy beams like a dancer in a storm. Commander Park pushed his ship past its safety limits, using the gravitational field of the nearby planet to slingshot around the alien formation. "Sir, we're pulling 8 Gs. The crew can barely stay conscious." "The aliens pull 3 Gs maximum," Park replied through gritted teeth. "Their crews can't handle high acceleration. Use it against them." The New Tokyo came around the planet at tremendous speed and slammed into the alien formation from behind. Her railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible velocity. The aliens had energy shields designed to deflect energy weapons. They were not prepared for chunks of metal moving at 20% of light speed. 3 alien ships exploded in brilliant flashes as the railgun rounds punched through their shields and hulls. "Impossible!" the Archon Prime shrieked. "Those are primitive kinetic weapons. How did they penetrate our shields?" The human fleet was using a mixture of weapons that confused the alien defense systems. Railguns fired solid projectiles. Missile tubes launched nuclear-tipped torpedoes. Plasma cannons sent superheated gas streaming across space. Each weapon type required different defensive measures. The heavy cruiser Retribution found herself surrounded by 5 alien vessels. Captain Kim ordered all weapons to fire at once. The ship became a blazing star of destruction, sending death in every direction. 2 alien ships took direct hits and went spinning away, trailing atmosphere and debris. "Captain, we're taking heavy damage to the port side. Reroute power from life support. Put everything into weapons and engines." "Ma'am, that will reduce our air supply to 30 minutes. Captain Kim smiled fiercely. "Then we'd better finish this fight in 29 minutes. The experimental stealth frigate Ghost of Terra used the chaos of battle to slip through the alien formation undetected. Commander Torres guided her ship between the massive alien vessels like a shadow. Her mission was different from the others. "Sensor sweep complete, Captain. I'm detecting human life signs aboard the alien command ship. That's our target. Prepare the boarding pods." "Ma'am, we don't know anything about the internal layout of that ship. Boarding it would be suicide. Maybe for most species, but we're humans. Suicide missions are kind of our specialty." The battle raged across 3-dimensional space as more human fleets began arriving. Admiral Kim's 5th Fleet dropped out of quantum space and immediately joined the fight. Admiral O'Brien's 3rd Fleet appeared on the opposite side of the alien formation. The Archon Prime watched in growing horror as its carefully planned formation began to collapse. The Deathworlders were not fighting according to any known tactical doctrine. They attacked from multiple directions at once. They took risks that should have been impossible. They used weapons combinations that made no logical sense. Worst of all, they were winning. Casualty report: 37 vessels destroyed or disabled. Archon Prime. The Deathworlders have lost only 8 ships. How is this possible? "They are primitives." The science cast leader had been studying the tactical displays with growing understanding. "Archon Prime, I believe I understand. These creatures evolved on a death world. Their entire species is adapted for extreme conditions and constant warfare. They do not fight to minimize casualties. They fight to destroy their enemies completely." Another flight of human ships screamed past the command vessel, their weapons blazing. The Crystal Dominion shuddered under the impact of multiple hits. Shields at 40%. Archon Prime. For the first time in its long life, the Archon Prime felt something it had never experienced before: fear. These Deathworlders were not like the other species the Hegemony had harvested. They were something new and terrifying. Warriors born from a world that had spent millions of years trying to kill them. "Signal the fleet," the Archon Prime ordered. Prepare to withdraw. But Archon Prime, we still outnumber them. Numbers mean nothing against creatures that fight like demons. Signal the fleet. We withdraw immediately. But the human fleets were not done with them yet. Elena Vasquez woke up strapped to a cold metal table in what looked like a medical facility from a nightmare. Strange alien instruments hung from the ceiling above her, their purposes unclear but obviously sinister. The air smelled like ozone and something else, something that reminded her of a slaughterhouse. "You are awake," said a voice like breaking glass. One of the crystalline aliens approached her table. "Excellent. The extraction process requires conscious neural activity." Elena tested her restraints. They were strong, but not impossible. During her time on frontier worlds, she had learned basic escape techniques from the colonial marines who protected the research stations. "What did you do with my team?" "The others have already been processed. You are the last. Your neural patterns indicate advanced scientific training. This will provide valuable data for our archives." Elena felt sick. Her friends and colleagues were dead. Sarah Chen, the young communications officer who had tried so hard to get their distress call out. Dr. Kim, who had been so excited about the archaeological discovery. Captain Morrison, who had tried to protect them all. "You're monsters," she whispered. "We are efficient," the alien replied. It began adjusting the instruments above her table. "Your species designation is Deathworlder. This indicates you come from a planet with hostile environmental conditions. Such conditions produce robust genetic material that commands high prices in our markets." Elena's mind raced. She had to find a way to escape, but the restraints were too strong to break by force. However, the alien had made a mistake. It had assumed that advanced scientific training made her valuable but harmless. What it didn't know was that Elena had grown up on a frontier colony world. She had learned to hunt dangerous predators, survive in hostile wilderness, and fight off raiders. Her scientific training was just one part of who she was. The alien leaned closer to examine her restraints. Elena waited until it was within arm's reach, then struck like a snake. Her head snapped forward in a vicious headbutt that shattered several of the creature's crystal-like facial features. The alien shrieked and staggered backward, blue fluid streaming from its damaged face. Elena used its moment of shock to work at her restraints. The alien hadn't expected a prisoner to fight back with such violence. Impossible! Deathworlders are supposed to be docile when restrained. Elena laughed grimly as one restraint snapped. "You obviously haven't met many humans." She freed her other arm and rolled off the table just as the alien lunged at her with some kind of energy weapon. Elena grabbed a surgical instrument from a nearby tray and drove it deep into the creature's midsection. More blue fluid sprayed across the room. The alien collapsed, its multiple eyes going dark. Elena searched the room quickly and found her equipment pack. The aliens had taken her scientific instruments but missed the emergency supplies hidden in the bottom of the pack. "Thank you, Sarah," she whispered, as she pulled out a small explosive charge. Every research team carried emergency demolition supplies for clearing rock samples or creating landing sites. Elena activated the charge and attached it to what looked like a main power conduit running along the wall. She had 30 seconds to get as far away as possible. She ran through the corridors of the alien ship, following signs that her universal translator interpreted as detention areas. If any of her team were still alive, that's where they would be. The ship shuddered as her explosive charge detonated. Emergency lights began flashing and alien voices echoed through the corridors. Elena smiled fiercely. She might die here, but she was going to make them pay for what they had done. Meanwhile, in space, the battle was reaching a critical point. The human fleets had completely abandoned traditional formation fighting. Instead, they were using what military historians would later call controlled chaos warfare. The dreadnought Indomitable was locked in combat with an alien vessel twice its size. Admiral Chen's flagship had taken heavy damage, but its crew kept fighting with the stubborn determination that made humans famous throughout the galaxy. "Admiral, we've lost main engines and our port weapon batteries are offline," reported Commander Rodriguez. "What about ramming speed?" "Sir, you heard me, Commander. Set course for that alien command ship and give me ramming speed." The bridge crew stared at their admiral in shock. Ramming was a tactic from the age of sailing ships, not space warfare. But they were humans and their admiral had given them an order. "Ramming speed, aye, sir." The Indomitable turned toward the massive alien vessel and accelerated on emergency power. The alien ship tried to move out of the way, but it was too large and slow to avoid the determined human dreadnought. The two ships collided in a spectacular explosion of metal and energy. The Indomitable's armored prow punched deep into the alien vessel's hull. As the ships locked together, Admiral Chen gave his next order. All weapons, point-blank range. Fire everything. The Indomitable fired every gun she had directly into the alien ship's interior. Explosions rippled through both vessels as the battle became a deadly embrace between two dying giants. Abandon ship, Admiral Chen ordered as his bridge began to collapse around him. All hands to escape pods, but many of the crew refused to leave. They stayed at their posts, keeping the weapons firing until the very end. When the Indomitable finally exploded, she took the alien command ship with her. Admiral Chen found himself floating in an escape pod, watching the debris field that had been his flagship. Around him, similar scenes were playing out across the battle space. Human ships that should have retreated instead threw themselves at the aliens with suicidal courage. The heavy cruiser Retribution had its entire forward section blown away, but kept fighting with its rear guns. The destroyer New Tokyo was spinning out of control, but still firing missiles at every alien ship in range. Captain Sarah Kim pushed her damaged cruiser through the alien formation one last time. Her ship was dying around her, but she had spotted something that made her heart race with hope. There. That stealth frigate, it's one of ours. The Ghost of Terra was attached to the side of an alien vessel like a parasite. As Kim watched, explosions began rippling along the alien ship's hull. Commander Torres and her boarding party had fought their way through the alien vessel's corridors. The aliens had never faced humans in close combat before. They were used to fighting with energy weapons at long range. Humans brought shotguns and combat knives. There, shouted Sergeant Martinez, Torres's Marine commander. Human life signs behind that door. They blasted through the alien barrier and found Elena Vasquez crouched over the bodies of several alien guards. She was covered in blue alien blood and holding a makeshift weapon made from surgical instruments. Dr. Vasquez, we're here to get you out. Elena looked up at the human Marines with tears in her eyes. My team. They killed my team. We know, Doc. We're going to make them pay for it. Torres activated her communicator. Admiral Chen, this is Ghost of Terra. We have your daughter. Repeat, we have recovered Dr. Elena Vasquez. Admiral Chen's voice came back filled with relief and rage. Outstanding work, Commander. Now get her out of there and let's finish these monsters. As the boarding party fought their way back to their ship, Elena asked the question that had been burning in her mind. How many ships did my father bring? All of them, Doc, replied Sergeant Martinez with a grim smile. Every human fleet within 100 light years is here. When you mess with one human, you mess with all of us. The alien fleet was beginning to break apart under the relentless human assault. Ships that had survived thousands of battles against other species were being destroyed by Deathworlders, who fought like their lives meant nothing. But the humans weren't fighting like their lives meant nothing. They were fighting like the lives of their families meant everything. The Archon Prime watched the tactical display in growing horror. Its carefully ordered fleet was being torn apart by creatures that fought without logic or self-preservation. They used their own ships as weapons. They boarded alien vessels with primitive kinetic weapons. They turned every battle into a personal vendetta. Signal all ships, the Archon Prime ordered. Emergency withdrawal. All units retreat immediately. But Archon Prime, we still have numerical superiority. Numbers mean nothing against madness. The alien commander shrieked. These Deathworlders fight like the demons from the old myths. Signal the fleet. We must escape before they destroy us all. But as the alien ships began to turn away from the battle, they discovered that the humans had one more surprise waiting for them. Admiral Petrov's 8th Fleet dropped out of quantum space just as the alien formation began to retreat. 42 fresh human warships appeared directly in the path of the fleeing hegemony vessels. This is Admiral Petrov to all ships. Form up and prepare to engage. These aliens thought they could butcher our people and run away. Show them how wrong they are. The Archon Prime felt something close to panic as it realized the Deathworlders had planned this perfectly. While its forces had been focused on the battle, additional human fleets had been positioning themselves to cut off any escape route. How did they coordinate such a complex operation? Our intelligence indicated they lacked advanced communication systems. The science cast leader was studying the tactical displays with something approaching admiration. Archon Prime, I believe we have severely underestimated this species. They are demonstrating strategic thinking that rivals our own. Impossible. They are primitives. With respect, Archon Prime. Primitives do not execute multi-fleet pincer movements with this level of precision. These creatures are natural warriors. The human fleets had the aliens surrounded now. Nearly 150 human warships faced the remaining alien vessels. But Admiral Chen, floating in his escape pod, was not satisfied with just driving them off. This is Admiral Chen to all fleet commanders. These aliens kidnapped and murdered human civilians. They were planning to harvest our entire species. We don't just defeat them. We make sure they never threaten humanity again. Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Ghost of Terra next to Commander Torres. Through the view screen, she could see the massive alien command ship where she had been tortured. The ship was trying to retreat with the rest of the alien fleet. "Commander, can we stop that ship?" "Doc, that thing is 10 times our size. We'd need something with a lot more firepower." Elena's eyes lit up with an idea that would have terrified anyone who didn't know her. "What about the quantum torpedoes from the damaged ships? Could we combine their warheads?" Torres stared at her. That's completely insane. The quantum instability alone could destroy half the fleet. But would it work? Torres was quiet for a moment, running calculations in her head. Theoretically, yes. But the targeting would have to be perfect. And someone would have to manually guide it to the target. "I'll do it, Doc. That's a suicide mission." Elena looked out at the alien command ship and thought about her murdered colleagues. Those monsters killed Sarah Chen. She was 25 years old and just wanted to explore the universe. They killed Dr. Kim, who had 3 kids back on Earth. They killed Captain Morrison, who was going to retire next year to spend time with his grandchildren. She turned to Torres with fire in her eyes. "I'm not letting them get away to do this to someone else." Before Torres could stop her, Elena was running toward the ship's small craft bay. She had piloted research shuttles through asteroid fields and planetary storms. Guiding a jury-rigged quantum torpedo should be simple by comparison. Across the battlefield, other human crews were making similar desperate plans. The destroyer Vigilant had lost its main engines but still had weapons. Captain Wright ordered his crew to abandon ship, then set the vessel on a collision course with the largest alien vessel he could find. The frigate Dauntless had taken critical damage to its hull, but not to its computer systems. Its captain uploaded a virus into the alien communication network that began spreading chaos throughout their fleet coordination. The heavy cruiser Defiant was completely dead in space, but its crew had rigged the ship's reactor to overload. When 3 alien ships moved in to finish it off, the resulting explosion vaporized all 4 vessels. These Deathworlders are insane. The Archon Prime shrieked as it watched ship after ship sacrifice itself to damage the alien fleet. How can they fight with such disregard for their own survival? The science cast leader had been monitoring human communications throughout the battle. "Archon Prime, I have been analyzing their transmissions. They are not disregarding their survival. They are fighting for something they call family." Family? It appears to be a social bonding structure that extends beyond individual survival. They will sacrifice themselves to protect others of their species, even strangers. It is unprecedented. The Archon Prime had ruled the Hegemony Collective for over 2,000 years. In all that time, it had never encountered a species that fought for anything other than individual survival or territorial resources. The concept of dying for strangers was completely alien to its understanding. Elena launched her improvised torpedo from the Ghost of Terra's shuttle bay. She had combined the quantum warheads from 3 destroyed human ships into a single massive weapon. The torpedo was unstable and required constant course corrections to prevent it from exploding prematurely. "Elena, get out of there." Admiral Chen's voice came over her communicator. He had been transferred to another ship and was watching his daughter guide a weapon of mass destruction toward the alien command vessel. "Sorry, Dad. This is something I have to do, for Sarah and the others." Elena's shuttle raced through the battle space, dodging energy beams and debris. The quantum torpedo followed her like a faithful dog, its containment field crackling with barely controlled energy. The alien command ship's weapon systems tracked her approach and opened fire. Helena twisted her shuttle through the incoming fire with the skill of someone who had spent years navigating dangerous asteroid fields and planetary storms. "Almost there," she whispered, watching the massive alien vessel grow larger on her screen. But the Archon Prime had realized what she was doing. "All weapons target that small craft. Destroy it immediately." Dozens of energy beams converged on Elena's position. Her shuttle's shields flared and died under the concentrated fire. Warning alarms screamed as her ship began to come apart around her. "Elena," Admiral Chen's voice was filled with anguish. "Tell everyone back home," Elena said calmly as her shuttle disintegrated, "that they never broke us. No matter what they did, they never broke us." The quantum torpedo, freed from Elena's guidance, continued on its programmed course toward the alien command ship. Its warhead contained enough explosive power to crack a small moon. The Archon Prime realized too late what was happening. "Emergency jump!" All ships prepare for immediate quantum fold. But the torpedo struck before the alien ship could escape. The explosion lit up space like a new star being born. The massive command vessel simply vanished in the brilliant flash, taking the Archon Prime and 1,000 years of alien arrogance with it. The destruction of their command ship broke the alien fleet's will to fight. The surviving vessels scattered in every direction, fleeing into quantum space without any coordination or plan. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the cruiser Redemption and watched the debris field where his daughter had died. Around him, the combined human fleets were already organizing pursuit squadrons to hunt down the fleeing aliens. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving surrender transmissions from 17 alien vessels. They're requesting mercy terms." "No terms," Admiral Chen said quietly. "They showed no mercy to our people. Hunt them down. All of them." Over the next 6 hours, the human fleet systematically destroyed or captured every alien vessel they could find. The few ships that escaped carried a message that would spread throughout alien space like wildfire. Humanity was not prey. They were predators. 3 months later, Admiral Chen stood in his quarters aboard the rebuilt flagship Indomitable II and read the intelligence reports. The Hegemony Collective had evacuated every system within 50 light years of human space. Other alien species that had been enslaved by the Collective were declaring independence and requesting human protection. The galactic balance of power had shifted permanently. Commander Torres entered his cabin with a final report.
"Sir, we finished analyzing the alien technology from their captured ships.
Their weapons are more advanced than ours, but their tactics and strategy are centuries behind." "Explain." "They've been so successful for so long that they never had to innovate. They just overwhelmed primitive species with superior numbers and technology. They never learned how to fight a real war against an enemy that could adapt." Admiral Chen nodded and looked out the viewport at the memorial station they had built in the system where Elena died. Her name was at the top of a long list of humans who had given their lives to protect their species. "What's the status of our new fleet construction?" "All shipyards are working at maximum capacity, sir. The government has authorized the largest military buildup in human history. We'll have 500 new warships operational within 2 years." "Good. The aliens made a mistake when they attacked us, but we would be making a bigger mistake if we assumed they won't try again with better preparation." Torres hesitated, then asked the question that had been bothering her for months. "Sir, do you think we did the right thing? We essentially committed genocide against the Hegemony Collective." Admiral Chen turned from the viewport and looked at his subordinate with eyes that had seen too much war. "Commander, they were planning to harvest our entire species for biological materials. They had already done it to 17 other civilizations. Sometimes the only way to stop a monster is to become something worse.